What's happening in the canine industry? For all the latest news, views, and expert opinions, stay right here for the Canine Paradigm. You'll hear from industry leaders, experts, doyens of the industry, learned colleagues, movers and shakers, and the odd randy guest. Get the latest insights and expert advice from both here and abroad from the people in the know. Now, here are your hosts, Glenn Cook and Pat Stewart. And I'm Lofty Fulton, and I'm out of here.
Hey, I need to tell you something.
Oh, God, what is it?
Some time ago, we did an ad episode where we talked about how we were going to get better with our ads.
I was wondering where you were going. Yeah. We're so shit at the ads.
That's what we said. We said, we're so shit, we're going to get better, and we just didn't.
We don't. We're so full of shit. All right, well, here they are. We got 5 sponsors currently.
All right, who are they?
First is the OG. The Einzelwiener.
Oh, that knob.
The bullfed.
Yeah.
Nah, he's the OG. He's been with us since the start.
No, he's good.
He is going to sell you whatever you need.
Yep.
He'll get it. What you should do is contact Jason from Ironswick Dog Queer with some peculiar product, tell him you want it, and make him get it in and sell it to you. Even if you could buy it somewhere else, just make sure he gets it in for you.
Just make that bastard work.
But in all honesty, I'd say 90% of my shit comes from him, and it's all the best stuff.
I did see some feedback on our forum where somebody was really intrigued about your handler package, the one that you got from Jason. Obviously, it works. Like, people are paying attention to the ads. That's great. Even though we're shit at this, we do a terrible job of actually trying to keep things updated. It's great to see that the people who are investing in our show are actually getting some leeway.
Yep. Mate, I've heard that your wife sells some canine products.
My wife is doing great guns at the moment. I said before that she's been supported terrifically in the United States, which has been good, but I will swing that back home and say that so many more people in Australia are doing it. And it's great to see, like, there are people finally in the sporting dog world who are starting to prioritize nutrition for their dogs. And I know them. I can see them when Narelle comes in and says, oh, guess who bought some product off me for the first time. So,
are you saying there's no patient confidentiality?
No, there's patient confidentiality.
Oh, sorry.
It's just a mailing list.
Confidentiality.
Well, it's a mailing list.
Are you aware my dog is taking pee, collagen, and what's the other thing he takes?
Antinol.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been on that.
Antinol is not Narelle's business, but I've got to do a shout out for Antinol. They are absolutely fantastic. They're very supportive of our show. Whenever we've done seminars and so forth, they have been first to dip their hand in their pocket. They are very generous with their product. But let me just say, all that aside, their generosity and their advertising and marketing, let me just say on the other side of that, their product is amazing.
Yeah.
Like, it does work. It's very beneficial.
For sure.
It's one of those things where they say Antinol for every dog every day. I totally agree with that. Narelle has even supported that. When people have asked them about her product, she says the 2 things that I would absolutely give to you is Antinol and her Gut Protect formula.
Yeah, right.
Gut Protect is like her holy grail of
like
her
the
whole
flagship
range.
of the range.
This is not me market talking, okay? Because
this is an ad.
This is an ad, but this is not me doing marketing.
But we've already pointed out we're shit at ads.
I know. Of all the things that she sells, and she sells some killer product, but the one thing that she does sell, which I absolutely agree with her, every dog should have this product, is the Gut Protect.
Really?
100%. It's nothing that they need for being sick. It's something that they need to do just to maintain great gut balance.
Okay.
And gut balance is like mental health. It's one of those things that you absolutely want to get control around. So products like Antinol, great for every day. Gut Protect, great for every day. There's other products that aren't even related to hers called Rosehip Vital and stuff like that. Absolutely fantastic for dogs to be on every sort of day. But I know there's other people we need to talk about. If you want to learn more about Narelle's products, go to our website, canineseuticals.com. I think it's
You'll figure it out.
It's .com or .com.au. It's one of those.
No one types that shit anyway. Everyone just Googles it and then goes,
just Google it. You'll find it.
Hey, George Kittredge, I reckon we should get him on the show.
We should have George Kittredge on the show. Not only is he devilishly handsome, but he's got a fantastic, one-of-a-kind product that I've never seen replicated anywhere in the world. You and me were getting a car ride by him. We got to see the prototype firsthand.
And then his bike got stolen with the prototype on it.
Did.
Remember that?
Yes.
Yeah. But anyway, George has Rowdy Hound Dog Box. And so it's a crate that goes on the back of your motorbike so that your dog can go everywhere with you. Yeah. It's cool as shit. It's a great idea. You should totally get one. Tailored Canines in Canada.
Yeah.
Do you know that Taylor from Tailored Canines is hosting Jazz Whiting later in the year?
I do know that. Yes, I saw the ad. Very good.
Yep.
Not only is she doing great stuff with her Tailored Canine,
her training business,
but she's also getting a fantastic trainer over there to help with her tailored training.
She is. And finally, Barbara de Groot
The sugar mama from the Heart Dog
From the
Training.
Heart Dog Training.
Just fucking throws cash at us.
Just supports the show. God bless her.
Yeah. I think later on in the year when Narelle and I are over doing a seminar with Melanie Benware, Barbara de Groot is coming over.
Wonderful.
I think she has put down a like, and I said, you better come, sugar mama, and she gave me a thumbs up. So hopefully she's going to be there and I can give her some love to repay us for all the kindness and support that she's thrown at us and ask nothing in return.
All right. That's our ad.
Yeah.
That one's good to go for at least another 4 years. You'll hear from us then. Welcome back to the Canine Paradigm. I'm your host, Pat Stewart. I'm joined in the studio today by my co-host, Glenn Cook, but also sitting with us at the table here in Australia for a bunch of PSA events, but these guys specifically for the Deadpool Decoy School. We've got Travis Lloyd, Zach Burke, and the Deadpool Decoy himself, Shawn Edwards. Hi, fellas.
Thanks for having us.
You're welcome.
Stop acting like you're in a hostage situation.
Poor Travis is sitting there with his hands clenched.
Are you here against your will? What's happening?
Absolutely not. I'm having a great time.
Yeah. Travis, you've been here a week now, nearly. Yeah,
Right.
over a week. Yeah, over a week.
Yes.
You hung out at our trial, watched that, watched the madness of the decoy certification. And then yesterday and the day before, you guys did the Deadpool Decoy School. How are you finding Australia?
Oh, I'm loving it. The people are awesome. Country is awesome. The events were amazing to watch.
Happy to be here.
Happy to be here.
Zach, you only arrived the day before the decoy school and you're out of here first thing Monday morning. That's a
Turnberg.
lightning turnaround.
Yeah.
Why?
Exactly.
Very
busy.
busy. Yeah. My wife's back home with 10 dogs, and
Yeah, okay, well.
I feel guilty leaving her there.
Yeah, good
Tell
call.
us why you're busy. What are you doing at home? What's your gig?
We own a Ridgeside Canine Somerville, and we have 6 trainers that work for us. I do mostly like the protection stuff, and I help her with the dogs. She does all the training, scheduling, coordinating, answering phone calls, emails, everything. Plus, she has 10 dogs at the house, 7 of our own, and 3 board and trains.
So it's a two-man show, you and your wife.
Yeah.
And it's like a board and train sort of setup where
Yep.
you're taking people's dogs and
Yep.
working them and training them,
Yep, exactly.
developing dogs for trials. Or
Yeah,
is it
I have
more
a couple
for-
private clients that I do PSA training with, personal protection stuff, and some just fun bite work stuff just for an outlet.
Yep.
But mostly the money making is the board and trains, yes.
Yeah, cool. So we've only got 4 microphones in the room. Flick over, Shawn, at least say hello. You're a veteran of the show. You have to say hello before we start interrogating these guys.
Hello.
How are you finding it here? How many times have you been here now? This is like your 5th time or something.
At least
right?
a 5th.
Yeah. You're part Australian now.
Yeah, it was a long time coming to get back here, and I'm happy to be back and get my hands on some beef pies. Yeah. So much for the dog training. I came only for the beef pies.
You've been here over a week now. We hung around for a few days. Then we had the trial. You were here to senior decoy the trial. Janet's here to judge. We've run away right now. Janet's in there teaching a seminar while we're hiding out here talking into microphones. The decoy school the last couple of days was awesome.
Phenomenal.
Amazing feedback. Everybody enjoyed it. If you're listening to the show, no matter where you are in the world, if you had an opportunity to get to one, make it happen, or get in touch with Shawn and make it happen. But we're talking to you guys, Zack and Travis, who are here to instruct on that school. Tell me a little bit about how that comes to be, like Shawn's belt system and how you guys have progressed through that and end up being instructors with him. Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, my first decoy school was with Shawn in North Carolina. My wife encouraged me to go because I'm very introverted and I didn't want to go. Just going new places, meet new people was always an issue for me. I met Shawn and we immediately hit it off at the first decoy school. When was that, Shawn? 2018? Probably 2018, 2019.
Mm-hmm.
And
So
then
life before COVID.
Yes. So I got my white belt at that one in Sanford. And then he invited me up to the next one in Hanover. We went to Hanover. I think I got my blue belt at the next one. And then he started inviting me out to help teach. And then that's when we honestly have become best friends through doing this, traveling with him. I talk to Shawn every single day. So our friendship has formed through this. And he's honestly been my mentor through, he's pretty much taught me everything I've known for decoying.
So had you done any decoying prior to going to one of the schools?
Yes, I had a mentor in South Carolina. His name is Beaver, actually, and I was brought up in working his dogs, American Bulldogs, so big dogs, doing
cool.
sleeve sports stuff. with the mixed in with suit stuff.
Yeah, right.
And then when I got with Shawn, I really started with the suit stuff and the PSA.
Yeah, right. How different was the style of work to what you were doing in the past to what you're doing now?
A lot different. The sleeve stuff is not as much as intricate as the suit stuff. There's just so much more to the suit stuff that you need to be aware of than just catching a dog, driving a dog, and making a dog out and bark, right? There's way more to it, and that's what I liked about it, and that's why I was so drawn to it.
Cool. And your progression through the belt, so you're a black belt?
Yes.
Tell us about those journeys along the way and what opportunities that's created for you or opened up for you and all that.
Can I just intervene there for a
Yes.
quick second? Because there's people who are joining us on the journey. And even though we've talked about the Deadpool decoy school before, Shawn does BJJ. And because of that, he kind of thought, well, wouldn't this be cool if we took the belt system from BJJ, which is white belt, blue belt, purple belt, brown belt, and black belt. And he designed a whole system around it like that, because up until that stage, there were decoy camps and people were teaching decoying and so forth, but there was no really good or fair way to rank people before. And I remember Shawn in the early days, he was writing it up on social media, and I contacted him about it. I said, mate, that is absolutely brilliant. In all the time I've been done it, like it's sort of been like a father to son hand me down sort of system where you go along to somebody and they go, okay, you want to decoy dogs, is what you do. But nobody really measured it. They were just like, oh, yeah, you're good enough to do this dog and you're good enough to do that dog. Whereas a ranking system like we have in BJJ and you have now in the Deadpool decoy school is that you can actually gauge where people are along their journey, and you have some guidance by the people who are, what are you? You're a black belt?
Yes.
You're a black belt, Pat, and Trav, you're a brown belt?
Correct.
So with that system, you kind of know that you've got senior level instructors. And even, for example, I'm taking this down a bit of a parallel to how BJJ works, but in BJJ schools, purple belts usually take classes. If they're good enough and proficient enough and they've got like an instructor-worthy capability, the black belt can say, okay, well, the very new guys, you can take them through some of the drills. And their proficiency is great in that. And it gives Shawn the relief that he needs, that when he's got, you know, you guys traveling along with him, that he can teach a component and he can say, okay, well, I'm going to teach this component in here, and you guys can take, you know, your 10 guys, and Travis, you can take your 10 guys and you can do this, or you guys can pair up together and do that. I think it's amazing. It's incredible. It was a genius idea of yours to come up with that, Shawn, to be honest.
Thank you.
The reason we're laughing at that is because we've only got 4 mics in the room and we're trying to share them around about 5 people. So Shawn's just grabbing the mic and just doing his one-line monologue.
It is a cool system. And I think one of the best things about it is when somebody says, you know, as it grows and becomes more popular around the world, and you can go to somewhere and they say, oh, I've been to Shawn's school, I'm a purple belt. And I can immediately sort of form an awareness of how much training they've done, what they know. And if I were working with them, what I could reasonably ask of them, like a level of proficiency I might expect to see from that person. So I love it just for that alone, I think is excellent, that you can just start to categorize where people are. I think as well, you never know what you don't know. And I think a lot of people, exactly as Glenn said, you're taught to decoy by the guy that teaches you, the person you have access to. As a student, you never actually know where your master fits, you know, like you're looking up to this one person. You always think that the guy you're learning from is the best. Otherwise, you wouldn't bother learning from them. And I think having some sort of external system really allows you to sort of quantify where you're at in all of that. I'm the exception to that. I've made a lifelong journey of convincing people I'm competent just through my through charm and good looks. Travis, tell us a little bit about your business, how you came to be in it. We've heard from Zack, but not just your actual business that you work in, but how you ended up in the schools and how it is that you're in Australia instructing people.
I ended up at Deadpool decoy school right after COVID. It was the first seminar that Shawn had put on after COVID. I took my girlfriend there. I was like, you want to come to this decoy thing with me and get bit? She wasn't my girlfriend at that time. We traveled there, did the school, loved it. We fell in love out of that, which was pretty cool.
Shawn takes full responsibility for that.
So shortly after that, I reached out to Shawn and I asked if he could put on a private school for some of me and my team. And we did a mock decoy camp where he showed us how to catch dogs and do the tire exercises and run us through an abbreviated version of what was done here. I earned my blue belt there. Since then, I just continued to go to seminars, and Shawn saw something in me and asked me if I would come along and instruct at the school. And I jumped at the opportunity, and I've been traveling around with him ever since for, I think I got a memory on my Facebook, about 3 years now.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And had you done much decoying prior to that? Is that something that your business you'd done much of?
A bit. I had went to a school, did an internship there for about 6 months doing horrible decoy work. And there was one really talented decoy there named Andrew Alexander, and I gravitated towards him immediately. I was like, that's what I want to look like. This guy is doing good work. I didn't really know what I was looking at the time, but I knew what good looked like. Mm-hmm. So he brought me into that fold and showed me some mechanics, and I was just very interested at that point. And I sent Shawn a video, and he was like, that's not actually that bad from what I've seen from other people. Come along to our seminar.
Cool, man. I think one of the cool things about the schools is that they are process driven. That's what I was sort of, harping on yesterday when we were wrapping up with everybody, is that the way that I learned to decoy and the way that most people do is you got to find a club, you got to find someone that is willing to invest time and effort into you, but then you have the dogs that you have, and every session is just designed for that dog, and you have to sort of over a really long period of time develop all the skill sets, but it's not systematized because this is what we're doing in this session. If you want to accompany us for training, cool, but it's not laid out for you. What I think is so cool about the school is that it is systematized, and it's that we have a range of dogs in there, and I'm sure that it's much better when you've got more dogs available. Here we just had what we have. It's mostly our club dogs that are at various levels of training, but having it laid out means that what can sometimes be thought of as a bit of a dark magic, nobody knows the steps, but there are steps, and there are you do this and then you do this and then you do this, and you don't need to be an incredible, you got to be good with dogs, you got to be able to read a dog, and all that develops over time, but you don't have to be intuitive and amazing right off the jump when there's steps. Oh, I do this until the dog is proficient, and then I move up to this, and then I do that until the dog is proficient. And so I think that the schools and the way you guys run them mean that people who would have gotten lost in the weeds of the art form of it can fall back to process. People like me, I have no natural innate talent with dogs. I've had to learn everything. Some people, you see them turn up and you're just like, oh my God, this guy's going to be amazing. I was not that. I love the idea of there being process, and I love the idea of there being a manual. It's why, we always harp on about people reading Controlled Aggression, because you can pull that book out and there's a section where you can find this weird thing's happening with my dog. It's probably happening because of this, and in order to fix it, do this. And that means that I don't have to have some insane innate level of skill with the dog. However, what I've noticed of you two guys, and Shawn absolutely, are very good at reading dogs. And what I notice of most people who are good decoys just know how to be with a dog. I was thinking about this last night, Shawn, when we were watching a movie at my place, and my dog, when people are over, non-dog people, they can't help but excite your dog in a way that causes you a problem. When you've got a high drive dog that lives in the house, with my family and the way we live, we know how to keep that dog normal. And I saw last night you were stretching on the floor, and he came over, and you had a little moment with him where he came up in arousal just a little bit, and then you were like, okay, that's enough. And then he went and got on the couch, where, with a non-dog person, that's him then whining and prompting them and being like, hey, you've started something that has to be seen through to the end. But you guys both really incredibly talented with dogs. So do you feel like that's something that you've learned over time, or do you feel that was fairly innate? What's that pathway felt like for you two?
For me, I feel like that just came naturally. When I'm working a dog, nothing else is around. There's no people around. It's just me and the dog. And I feel like the dog, my goal when working a dog is to show the dog I'm not, for lack of a better term, going to mess with it. Hey, I'm just going to make you better. I'm going to make you stronger. And you're going to get through whatever stressors that people have put on you before. I'm not going to do that to you. My favorite thing to see is when a dog just gets so stiff, and then you just see them relax, and they're like, wow, I'm not going to get messed with. You're going to show me the way to do things. And I think that just came naturally to me. The progression and everything that I've learned from Shawn, I do with every dog. But I think just the ability to read a dog and see, hey, oh, okay, I'm going a little too far, or I'm not doing enough to keep them engaged on the bite. That just came naturally to me.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think like when I look at people decoying, there's kind of two types, or there's lots of types, but what I see is two archetypes of one that is very cooperative with the dog, and I put you into that category myself as well. And then there's people who take it like adversarial with the dog, and both can have great outcomes for sure. Like there's not a right or a wrong. I think it's just how your own brain works. I know for me it's that way because my first encounter with real dogs was watching a military working dog just shred someone. And then I was immediately like, oh, I'm scared of this, and I don't want to be that.
Yeah.
And so my imprinting with high-powered dogs was me and you are going to get along. And that was long before I ever was decoy. This was just being around them. I was like, we have to be friends here. We're going to cooperate, and I'm going to learn to help you do what I need you to do without giving you any reason to think I'm not your friend.
Exactly.
And then when I learned to decoy, I just still carried that same attitude in. Was there a reason that you're like that? That's just how you feel? That's how you want to be? Like for me, there's a strong reason. That's why, because I was scared. Not like scared, but I was aware this could go really wrong for me.
This is going to sound stupid, but I feel like I have a connection with dogs, like more than people. Like
That's not stupid. We understand that
in my heart and soul. I love dogs. Like
there's a calling for it, right?
Yeah, and I just feel like that's what started it. Just the connection with it, and it just like I've seen shit decoy work, and I've seen dogs stressed out, and like just go on social media, you can find it in 2 seconds.
Yeah,
and I'd never wanted to be that way. I want the dogs to enjoy doing that. It shouldn't be stressful. Like, yes, we're going to stress them eventually, but in the early stages, the learning stages, nothing should be stressful. It should be fun. It should be a game.
What about you, Travis? Like your style of decoying, do you prefer tapping into that adversarial nature, or are you more cooperative with the dog?
I'm absolutely more cooperative. It's how we work the system.
Yeah.
I've always been very intuitive with dogs and animals in general since a young age. I just had a really good ability to read animals and always love them. It did come naturally for me as well. Not that I'm very talented, but I had some nasty dogs before I got into decoy work.
Okay, like of your own? Or
of my own. And just
what kind of dogs?
I had pit bulls. My very first dog was a little Razor's Edge, Blue Pitty. And I lived in a house with 4 of them, and they weren't all dog social. And it wasn't a mystery to me that, oh, I have a dog aggressive dog. I just need to keep them separated and walk my dog on a leash and read some books and, try a prong collar out and these other training things that were new to me. But I was like, okay, we have to get this under control. And it just came naturally, and I was able to live with these dogs harmoniously until they passed away.
How was it you came to be that you had 4 serious pits in the house?
I loved them. I had a cousin that was into breeding backyard pit bulls, honestly, but I always just loved these big blockhead bullies, similar to the one that you were training. That's always what I envisioned, and I had kind of experienced that with pit bulls. And I went to get this Razor's Edge pit bull, and this guy, he picks me up and he's covered in tattoos with pit bulls. And I go to his house and he's just got pit bulls all over his walls. And that was the first time I experienced a well-bred dog from a breeder that knew what he was doing. And when I went to him, I took all of the money out of my savings account to buy this dream dog of mine. And I got there, he had a couple of protection dogs. And he told me then, he was like, this is the best dog money can buy. This is the best pit bull you'll ever had. And he was right. But I didn't know what I had, honestly. I had no idea. And she was amazing. I look back and I'm like, man, I wish I had that dog today.
Oh, I do that all the time. I do that all the time with dogs. There's one dog in particular that I was a part of the raising. That's the one I always think of. Like, if only I could put my hands on that dog now with the skill set that I have now, that dog would be a different thing. Would be a whole nother world. What dogs have you got now of your own?
I have my personal Belgian Malinois, my girlfriend's Belgian Malinois. She's raising and training for Mondio Ring. And I just got a new puppy bred specifically for Mondio Ring. And that's who I will be training and raising in the system. We have my daughter's golden retriever.
Okay, cool. Yeah. That's cool. How did you find being a pity guy, then changing over to pointy-eared dogs? Like the first time that you really got in the weeds with a pointy-eared dog, what was that like?
Oh my God. I was in Afghanistan and I saw military working dogs. I saw the Belgian Malinois going out there and doing detection and bite work and then coming back inside the wire and being these social dogs in the hooch where everybody they became a family dog almost, where we all just got along with it. And I'd watch those dogs work and train. I was like, yep, that's what I'm doing. This is it. That's what I'm doing when I go home. And I got my dog and there was no turning back. I was like Malinois from now on.
Yeah. It's funny, just like the blockhead dogs versus the pointy-eared. I started in pointy-eared dogs. I love pitties. When I am no longer going to be training dogs to do the things that I want to train dogs to do, it's a pity that I'll have because I enjoy their company. But they are such a different thing to train, right? It's so much harder. That Kai, the big bully that I train, he bit me one time by accident, right? I had the ball under my armpit. He must have thought that I gave the marker. I didn't. He jumped up to get it. And not like a bad bite, but he tagged me under the armpit. I reacted like someone that had been bitten by their dog. I was like, hey, sort of yelled at him. He crumbled, went to water, fell on his back, showed me his belly. It was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. It took me I've got all this on film. It took me a good 10 minutes to recover him, to the point where he would show any drive towards me again because he was like, I'm so sorry. He's so affiliative, and me being mad at him like that just went to water. I could yell in my dog's face. He would love that. It would only excite him. He would think it's the best thing ever. There's so much easier to manage. I think so many trainers take that for granted, right? Who haven't had those blockhead dogs and those experiences with them, they don't realize how difficult they can be in that way.
They're very emotional dogs.
Yeah.
Yes, pit bulls.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing, right? I'm not saying this is a scorn, but there's a lot of people who just jump straight into Mals because they're very focused on that's what I want to do. This is the sport I want to do. I get it. They're like Olympians. They're there to win trials. They're there to take the trophies. But they don't know anything else outside the scope of that. And it also makes them bad decoys with other dogs sometimes as well. Not always, but regularly I see people that just don't know how to catch a German Shepherd. They don't know how to catch a Rottweiler. And then they go, oh, this dog's no good because it's not cast into the mindset of what they know how to catch.
Exactly.
So Mals fly through the air. They sail through the air differently from a lot of dogs. They're light, they're nimble, they're fast, they're ferocious, and usually they connect really well. With some of these dogs aren't shit. They're not terrible. They just need a better type of development decoy to bring them on. And when we were talking earlier on about the decoy school and so forth and decoy certification that just went on with all you guys, there's a difference also in a developmental decoy versus a trial decoy. And you can be both or you can be one, but sometimes you just can't be both. Sometimes they can be polar opposites apart, where some people are brilliant trial decoys, but they're shithouse at developing dogs because they don't know the systematical upbringings and the nuances that these dogs really need. They don't have the guidance, they don't have the understanding, and they don't have that vast sort of bandwidth that you really need to understand what a pit bull catches like, understands that temperamental side of them and how easily they can be crushed and how emotional they can be. It's the same thing with Rottweilers. The trainability of Rottweilers has changed systematically. There's many times where Pat and I have had conversations about the difference between a 1990s style of Rottweiler and the workability of them in Australia. They were vastly different to what they are now. And when you tell people stories of them, especially people who had been inducted into the Malinois culture, they hear it and they kind of look at you and they roll their eyes. But to phrase something else, a different topic that I was talking about in a different podcast, they weren't there. They have no experience of it. In fact, the only thing they were doing at that time was filling nappies full of shit and sucking a dummy. They have no idea what they're talking about. But they kind of look at you like, yeah, cool story, mate. I know what Rotties are about, but you're seeing a different format of dog. You're seeing a dog that's been diluted down into looking pretty, where the workability of the dog has been stripped down. The reason I'm talking about this obviously is because I've had a Rottie. You guys have had a hand in helping me. Pat's done a huge amount of work with him and being very patient. He knows what I want to do. He knows I want to proceed with this dog. It's important for me to try and get a Rottie through PSA to show Rottie people that it can be done. I know they're not Malinois. I get it. I know there's a difficulty in raising a Rottie to do these type of things, but it's still fun. And people who do want to do the sport and have got a talented Rottie shouldn't feel like you're ostracized out of it because your decoy doesn't know how to develop them or is too lazy to do it because they only want to look good on Instagram with Malinois flying off them. Sure. And that's another thing, like talking about the safety side of things with decoying is I don't want to know that I'm working with an Instagram decoy. I don't want to know I'm working with a guy that wants to fucking fling my dog through the air and break teeth out of his face and hurt him and land on top of him because he wants to look cool or she wants to look cool on Instagram. Fuck that person.
I agree.
Fuck them to hell.
Yep.
All they do is jam up dogs. They don't do good for the sport. They only are in it for themselves. And they're a bastardized version of what I want to see in a decoy. So I love the fact that when you're talking about it, you guys say, don't do these sort of things because this is how you break teeth in dogs. Don't do these sort of things because people won't want to work with you. People won't want to. You won't really find employment or engagement in being a good decoy. See, I'm not a trial decoy. I'm not even really a decoy anymore, but I did decoying for years, developmental decoying, bringing puppies on, raising dogs for, it wasn't IPO then, it was Schutzen back then, but we were just working time and time again, but mainly in protection and security type work. But even then, even without all of the modernization that we have now, even without the collaboration that we have now, I was fortunate enough to be raised by people who said, don't do stupid shit with dogs. But we didn't have the pressure of cameras and social media where people were trying to portray this magnificent image. If a dog is going to fly through the air, let the dog fly through the air on its own. Just be ready to catch it and carry it around and safely bring that dog back down to earth as a good decoy. Those are the sort of things that I really find, and many of my colleagues in the industry find the relevancy in becoming a good decoy. It's kind of like a rite of passage for becoming a better decoy and becoming not only a better decoy, but actually becoming a better dog trainer because you actually understand how to communicate with a handler, how to communicate with a dog, and how to bring it all together, which is really the neat little package that's got a bow on top when you're looking at it at the end of the day. It's not just learning how to take instruction. It's also thinking something I need to do here to change what's happening. This is how I need to act. This is how I need to move. This is what I need to back off. I need to put more pressure on. Those sort of things come with being a great decoy. That's the journey of being great. But it's also fantastic if you don't have those skills yet, but you have a network of people that you can reach out to and say, hey man, watch this video of me training a dog. That's one thing that you guys have got now that I didn't have when I was growing up is I couldn't reach out to other people. I had to stay within my own network. Not that it's a bad thing. I'm not complaining. I did have a network of good people around me at the time. Like I was spoiled compared to other people that I knew back in that era. But I would have loved it now if I could have filmed something and said, hey man, can you audit this for me and just tell me what you see? Because I'm struggling. I can't bring the dog on. Is it me? Am I doing something or is it the dog? And I think that form of communication is really, really important. And that was a fantastic thing that I saw Pat initiate with this. You know, like I know that he was very inspired by things that Shawn was doing and going over to State Line and doing the decoy school over there. But then bringing it back and saying, look, we need decoys. We need to revive this sport. If there's any future in this, we need to make sure that we've got an instrumental collaboration of decoys in the country that are doing work. Until he sort of did that, it never really existed. I'll say for PSA because there's probably IGP people out there like kicking their dashboards, infuriated, saying, but we do this. We do our training camps and we do the, and they probably do, but I'm not really invested into that world. Like when I became a certified decoy in Schutzen in the day, I had to do a training program, but I will say hand on heart, what you guys are doing in your Deadpool school and your trial certification program, it's vastly superior. Vastly superior. Like it's chalk and cheese. You're doing a lot of work with the decoys where they're catching, they're working with each other. There's fitness programs they've got to enroll in to be trial fit, to be trial ready. And then the school itself starts showing them the little nuances and gently breaking them in to saying, okay, if you're going to do this, this is the program you've got to run. It's incredible. Hats off to you guys. I'm loving it. I think it's really cool.
Hey, you guys have been racking up the freaking fire miles with this Deadpool decoy stuff. You're all around the US. You guys went to India last year, Australia this year. I'm sure there's more on the horizons. Tell me something that's caught you by surprise. Like, where have you been where you've gone like, oh, wow, I wasn't expecting that?
That's a good question. India, I really enjoyed India. There's one trainer there, Dave, that really caught me by surprise.
Yeah.
A very talented trainer, very talented dog. I told him the other day, I have maybe 5 or 6 guys from India that to this day still send me videos and I'll critique them and give them tips and pointers and everything. And Dave reached out to me for some muzzle fighting tips. I told him the other day, I said, I guarantee you right now, you are going to be the first PSA 3 in India.
Yeah, right.
He's far attached from everyone in the United States and all like the top level trainers. But in my opinion, he's a top level trainer. In
Is this
India.
Dave or Dev?
Dev. Yeah.
Yeah, he was my decoy in Vietnam.
Yep.
Amazing.
Love that guy.
Fantastic. Him and Nick Hill are
and incredibly talented. That's what I like. Humble.
really,
and talented.
really cool dude.
Yep.
Tell us about his dog. Why is
is-
his dog so good?
Ronan, a very impressive dog. Big, strong, powerful, and clarity.
Yeah, okay.
But
Yep,
Dev
very
switched on
clarity.
too. Like he's a very deep thinking person.
Yeah, cool.
His training is that I sent him the other day. I was like, dude, you don't have help. You're doing this on your own. And the way you set up training scenarios is genius. It's brilliant. And he's doing this all on his own. Yes, he's been to Tar Heel. Yes, he's been there to do like decoy camp type stuff. Just by watching his videos, you can tell he's creating these scenarios on his own.
He's talented.
And he's doing a very good job at it.
Yeah, right. It's been really cool to watch India sort of develop over the last 10 years with PSA being there. And they've gone from having like next to no working dogs. And there was never, I think PSA was the first ever civilian dog sport trial. I'm pretty sure that I think that's the case, right? Do you
think
know
so,
that to
yeah.
be true?
Yeah, I think so.
And it's been awesome to watch. Now there's, like a massive dog culture in India and some really high level
They've
trainers.
got a judge now.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
Varun.
where's his dog from? How did he get
I don't even know. That's a good question.
Yeah, right, okay.
But I really like that dog, and he's the type of person that'll puts the dog first before
Yeah,
the
yeah.
sport. When we were at the trial in India, I can't remember what happened, but he looked at me. He's like, "Do you think I should trial tomorrow?" I said, "No." I said, "I don't think you should. Even if you don't have that many trials, you need to fix whatever." It was something minor, and he was like, "Okay, I'm not gonna trial tomorrow.
Yeah,
I'm gonna put
okay.
the dog first." And he's that type of person.
Yeah, nice. What level's he in?
2s, and he'll have a 2. He may even close out his 2. I'm not sure.
Okay, cool.
But he's in the 2s.
Yeah, nice. What about you, Travis?
India was a big trip for me. Just seeing the dog culture emerging in another country in its infancy was amazing. I'm kind of on the same path just with my own journey. And then this trip has been very similar in that. And just the energy and the camaraderie and just watching this thing pop up and be constructed is really cool to see in its infancy. And not a lot of people get that opportunity.
Yeah.
In India, it was the first PSA trial I'd ever watched.
Oh, right. Yeah, okay.
nice.
It was my first PSA
Yeah,
trial,
nice.
and it was amazing.
Tell us a little bit about what you do. You're in a Mondio club, right? So I think that's worth bringing up and sort of explaining that the Deadpool decoy schools and the techniques, a lot of people can get sort of bogged down and think, oh, this is for PSA, but it's for building a dog. It doesn't matter the end output, no matter what sport you're going to do, so long as it's a suit sport, no matter whether it's going to be a police dog or whatever, the process is the same.
It's about being a better decoy.
Absolutely. I use the same modalities to build my Mondio ring dog as we do in PSA. Many of them, they cross-pollinate. And I see young decoys in all sports that could apply these modalities and benefit.
Where's your Mondio club at? Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay. I'm not actually a member of the club because you have to have a titled dog. They just let me hang around.
Okay, so it's one of those. Yeah, we used to be like that. It was the same here. You could come and train, but you're not in until you've proven. It wasn't that you had to title a dog. It was that you had to hit the field. You had to prove that you're actually going to do it.
They had to take a bite from Max.
Yeah, that was part of it as well.
Sure. And the club director there is very much wants to see the people involved and not just flighty, I'm going to give it a try and leave. So he wants to make sure that you're committed to it before they let you into that inner fold. Plus, it's a very, very successful club.
Okay,
probably the best in the nation. I'd have to check the statistics, but I believe they're the highest scoring club in the nation. And the pool of talent there, talk about a master coach or deep practice. His name is Todd Dunlap. Not very many people have heard of him. He kind of flies under the radar. He's a if you know, you know kind of guy. The reason I love where we're at, Pennsylvania and the Ohio border, is we have so many clubs and so much talent in a close proximity. It is similar to what's going on here, where it's if you build it, they will come. People are moving across the nation to be there. And it's this energy. And when you go to the Club West Penn, it's this nostalgia that you get. It's like a field that's carved out of a farm town in Belgium. There's farm animals and chickens and rabbits and guineas running around the field and cats, but just the nostalgia of all of it is amazing.
That's cool. I like Mondio. I'm always interested in the crossover, you know, like where people will try and compete in both. When we couldn't do any PSA here and I went and like played Mondio for a little bit, I got one leg on my dog. It was really interesting to see, not that I'd put work into it, and at the time he was not in great shape, but the barrage just confused the hell out of him. And he thought for sure, because I had so much control on him and the streamer barrage, he just was like, oh, this is a stop. Went into a guard and was like, when you open that barrage, I will go through it. And like that exposes a big hole in my development and that kind of stuff. And he was sort of out of shape. But I remember thinking, oh, there's a big difference here. Like this isn't what I was expecting to see from my dog here today. Do you have any interest or do you know of anybody that's interested in crossing over, like doing both sports at the same time?
Oh, absolutely. There's several members in our club that have level 3s in multiple sports. Carrie, Todd's wife, she has an IPO 3 dog that she moved into Mondio 1s after he retired from that sport, and she just lets him live in the 1s because of the jumps.
Yeah.
And she does AKC with this dog, and so they do all kinds of sports. What's really interesting is you see a lot of dock diving correlation with Mondio ring dogs. It's a thing. It really is. You see a lot of Mondio ring people that are into dock diving.
Yeah, nice. Right.
Yeah.
There's a lot of emphasis on the jumps in Mondio, right? There's a lot more points there than there is in PSA, that's for sure. So I suppose that agility component is a big part of it. I love dog diving. I wish that there was more access to it here. I think it's cool as shit. It's one of those sports where, you know, like I'm sure there's people that take it super seriously and there's the upper levels or whatever, but I've been at so many sort of intro type days watching dogs jumping in for the first time and that like confidence boost and the fun that they have doing that. I think it's cool as shit.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit more about your sort of journey into dogs full stop. Like, how is it that you decided I want to make a living out of this? And both of you, like, what is it where you were like, oh no, this is no longer just a hobby and a passion. Like, this is going to be my whole life. This is what I'm going to do to feed my family as well as sort of fill my soul. Yeah.
I found a school and I was like, this is it. This is what I'm doing. When I get back to the civilian world, I'm going through school. I'm starting a business. This is it for me. Mm-hmm. When I commit to something, I am all in. So I went to school and then immediately wrote a business plan and started looking for a property, found a place in the country in Ohio, bought it and started building. We renovated our barn, a horse barn, into a beautiful facility with 11 indoor and outdoor runs, and just started diving headfirst into the pet training business. Mm-hmm. And honestly, I wasn't prepared.
Yeah, okay. That was my question I was about to ask. Like, how well do you think your school prepared you for business?
The school actually prepared me very well for business. That is one big takeaway that I took from the school. I did a 6-month internship there where I was just able to shadow evaluations and phone calls and working with clients. And after we got our pet trainer certification, they dropped me off at a facility and they were like, yep, you got a client coming in, do your evaluation and sell them. And it was just trial by fire. And I sold the client.
Nice.
The first one I had. And I was like, oh, I kind of got a knack for this. But it was more about I understood dogs and I could articulate what I had learned and how I was going to train your dog and how I was going to teach you to train your dog.
What weren't you prepared for?
Oh.
What was the learning curve there?
The learning curve was business for me. Mm-hmm. I wasn't prepared for the snowball effect that happened with us. I started my company in 2021 and now we have like over 100 reviews on our Facebook page.
What's your company called?
American Canine Dynamics. It just really spiraled out of control where we've got a really good reputation in our community now and people are just calling and calling and calling. And some of the infrastructure things that I should have done maybe in the infancy of it, I hadn't done. I was just like, let's get dogs, let's train, let's build. And there were things that I missed that I wasn't prepared for. And now when I talk to newer dog trainers, I say, hey, I didn't do this. I think you should do these steps first that I wasn't prepared for.
Yeah. Can you give us any specifics on those? Like, is there anything that that really stands out?
Jeez, my website was terrible.
Okay, yeah.
It looked like I made it with a crayon.
Yeah.
With a crayon.
Yeah, it was terrible. So we're revamping that. Some of the SOPs that we have in place now with how we answer the phone, the time limits that we have for returning calls, the kind of refined processes that we have for following up with clients now.
Mm-hmm.
My background, when I worked as a government contractor, I'm a Lean Six Sigma black belt, which it's a school and a methodology of negating defect.
Okay.
So I was into a lot of quality control, quality assurance, improving processes, identifying issues. So I took all of that and put that into my business where I can just go in and identify a problem. I'm like, here's the problem. Here's what we're going to do. We can move past it and not have to repeat this mistake with these very simple steps.
Mm-hmm. And that's been
monumental.
Yeah, for sure. What about you, Zach? You were a Coast Guard, right?
Correct.
And starting your own business. You're a Ridgeside Canine.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about the process of that.
So 2014, I met my wife in Afghanistan. 2015, I convinced her to move to South Carolina with me from Virginia. She was a cop in Arlington, Virginia.
What was she doing in Afghanistan?
We were on the same team, actually. In Afghanistan, we were with the Coast Guard. She's prior Army and Coast Guard. I'm just Coast Guard. We were part of a raid team. It's not as cool as it sounds. It's just redeployment, like helping all the units ship their stuff back to the United States, hazmat, customs stuff.
Right.
Met her there. 2015, I convinced her to leave Arlington PD to move to South Carolina. Then she got a job at where we live in Somerville as a cop. 2016, she got K9, and that changed our lives.
Right.
Literally about to cry just thinking about it. Her police dog, K9 Apart, changed our lives forever.
So you weren't really into dogs prior to
No,
that?
we were. We had mixed family of 5 dogs.
Right,
Two pit bulls. Well, a Staffy, a pit bull, 2 Great Danes, and a Weimaraner.
Right.
And there's only one of those dogs left now, one of the pit bulls. We were heavy into dogs. Then Apart came along, and that started the working dog obsession for both of us. The first bite I took, it was like a drug for me. After she got Apart, she started doing, a couple of years later, she started doing just like private lessons with people. That took off very quick. She left the department 2021, she left the department, started doing our own business under Liberty Dog Training, and that was all word of mouth. And the vet was just like flooding us with leads. Mm-hmm. We were just running basically off all leads from the vet. And then she met Aaron at a Blue Line conference, and her and Aaron from Ridgeside hit it off. Mm-hmm. And Aaron was like, "You are." So
that's
brand.
Aaron Taylor,
Yep.
who. So the Ridgeside brand he started, right?
Correct.
He was the first one, and
he owns Ridgeside.
Yeah, and he's licensed you to use that, or it's a franchise, right?
Correct. Yeah, in a way. So they hit it off. He was like, "You are the brand. You're prior law enforcement, prior cop." Well, she was a cop at that point. You're a cop. You're prior law enforcement or prior military. I would like you to switch to Ridgeside K9. Tara thought about it. We talked about it, and we decided to do it. And unlike Travis, there really were no learning curves. My wife does all the work. I don't do anything. Aaron was amazing.
Yeah,
he helped with everything, the website, the ads, the Google, for everything Aaron helped us with. And he literally just was like, here's this on a silver platter. You guys are under my name now. I'll help you, whatever you need.
Amazing.
And it was piece of cake from there.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he's been phenomenal when it comes to that. And my wife has just been hit the ground running since then. Now we have 6 trainers working for us. We're up to 8 or 9, I think, at one point. And we don't have a facility per se, but everyone just does board and trains out of their homes, all our trainers.
Yeah. That's an interesting one. We don't really have too much of those in Australia, that kind of model.
Yeah.
Because it's illegal.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was talking to a guy yesterday that said we can't do that here.
Yeah. That's the problem. But I see it when I'm in the US. I see it works pretty well, right? Like you
No
end up
overhead,
with and you end up with a really good product because the people end up making the dog their own dog essentially, and it fits into the home.
Yeah. A lot of you'd be surprised. A lot people will call, and my wife will explain to them, "Hey, yeah, the dog's going to stay in the home as be a member of the family with the trainer," and they're like, "No, I'd prefer they stay at a facility." I'm like, really? That's what you prefer? Okay, well, that's not us. You can find someone else. But like most of the people like the idea that the dogs are going to be living in the home with the trainers and whatnot.
What's in the future for you guys? Like you continue to travel doing the schools, you've got your own businesses.
Yep.
What's on the horizon? What are you looking forward to?
Titling my dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have 7 dogs total, 3 German Shepherds, one's in the 2s, one's in the 1s. And we have 2 puppies and a Great Dane. The 2 puppies we have are from Josh and Alyssa, Normandy. We have a Dutchie out of Kano, who's a PSA 3 dog. And then we have a Malinois out of Akuma, who's a PSA 2 dog, and a Nika. And those are our future dogs. That's the goal right now, is to title them and make them as far as we can.
He's a pretty significant dog, Kano.
Yes, he's a special dog.
Yeah,
very special dog.
He's a standout dog. I wouldn't say that I'm flush with knowledge of all of the PSA dogs, but like I follow them on Instagram, all the impressive ones. Regardless of my love and friendship with the Edwards, I love Gecko. Gecko is a special dog.
Yes, he is.
He's an incredible dog, but so is Kano. Like, he is a real standout dog.
He is. He's special. Like, we go up there all the time. We go up for weeks at a time to train with them.
Yeah.
And when he comes up for level 3 stuff, you're like, fuck, I'm not going to get him to
But the
break. I'm not going to
direction-
get him to bite me. He's just so clear. It's not even funny. And Josh,
incredible.
other than Shawn, Josh is one of my other mentors, and he is one of my favorite people to be around. Like, he is so humble. He is so good.
He's
just
such a quiet achiever, isn't he? He just steps on the field, does his thing, and steps
like he just
off.
went out there with Reiko and his PSA 1 dog and just won all the titles, everything, and just quietly goes off and he'll get
he
his
just
next
wanders
leg.
off and okay, I did my thing.
That's Josh.
Amazing guy.
Yeah.
Which of those dogs do you actually handle?
None.
Okay. So when you say we put a title in the dogs, you'll be watching from the sideline?
Yes. I enjoy the decoying and building. Like, when they're out there and they're doing protection, that's what brings me joy. Like, that's my high. Nixon, the Dutchie out of Kano, was mine. Alyssa held the dog back for me, and she kept sending us messages. Hey, when you come up, you're going to take a look at Nixon? Or her name was Tootsie at the time. And I said, yeah, I don't want another dog, though. Yes, I don't want another dog. I especially don't want another Dutchie. We went up there and I fell in love with her. I was like, yeah, I guess I'll take her. I guess that'll make 7 dogs. I broke my rule. And yeah, it's bad. And then I started working her, and then I realized quickly that my wife is way better at teaching obedience than I am.
Okay.
And I am better at doing the building and the decoying. So I was like, you know what? At first it was, hey, you teach the obedience, I'll do the decoying. And then when she gets to a certain age, I'll take over and I'll show her. But my wife has put so much work into that dog, and I'm not going to take her over. I'll let my wife enjoy the
Tell me a little bit about that. Is it that she's just better at it, or you don't like doing it?
I don't like doing it.
Yeah,
I don't
okay.
have the patience for it. Like decoying, I'm very patient. Like, okay, we'll take our time. With the food luring for a year, no, I'm all set. Like, I don't have the patience.
It's a
for that.
finesse. The incremental work that you've got to do, and like just curbing the frustration that you're feeling like it's not happening fast enough.
Exactly.
When you index it through your head sometimes, there's things that I do with Mando, and Narelle will say to me, that's enough, because I'm getting super heated. Even now at my experience level, where I tell other people, and I literally dictate, don't do this, do this. You must incrementally stage your way through. And I work through that millimeter, centimeter, meter thing with everybody, but I break it myself. And Narelle goes, he's not learning now. He's frustrated with you. And I said, yep, you're right. I shut it down and I walk out of the room. So Narelle sometimes takes over. So she started teaching him a lot of the foundation work. I've been putting videos up recently of him doing place work and change of positions and so forth. But Narelle taught him a lot of that initial work, because she said, you're getting too frustrated because you want it too fast. Just let me do some of the work. So I said, yep, cool. It's the best thing to do. And he resonates really well with that. And then when he's ready for the pressure, I come in and put the pressure on him. Then he's going, now that I understand it, and I look at him in a compassionate way, and I think, yeah, you poor bastard, that's what you needed. You needed somebody to be compassionate for you at the time and allow you to do that millimeter work, so I can come in and start stripping you into centimeters and meters. Now that he's ready for pressure, he goes, oh, I understand it now. I can cope with it. You tell people all the time, and because it's your own dog and you're getting excited about it, you think, oh, I need to fast track you. I need it to work. But you need to know the difference between the carrot and the stick.
Yeah, exactly. I've watched enough, especially training with Shawn and Janet and Josh and Alyssa. I've watched enough of obedience and like stuff. So I'll watch all my wife's sessions. Nobody works harder than my wife. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah.
They're getting multiple sessions a day. And I'll watch her and like I'll pick up on things and be like, hey, try this instead. Like if something's going off or like their head's turning slightly in the obedience or healing or whatever, and give her little tips. But other than that, the same way. I'll see something and be like, hey, relax. Like, don't worry about that. Don't overstress that. Like they're allowed to have bad days. Just put the dog up.
Yep.
Where she'll just want to keep pushing because she's a perfectionist and she wants it to be right every single time. She doesn't like the idea of putting the dog up if it's not doing well.
It's so important to have somebody audit your work. Sometimes we just don't have the leisure of or the access to that. But having somebody who can kindly say to you and just strip your ego for a minute and just say, hey, I'm on your side. I just want to show you or advise you of something that I think would go better for you and the dog right now. And having that faith and trust in the person that you know they're on your side and you know that they want the best from you. It's not an attack. It's not something that they're doing to have one over you or to hold it over you. All they're simply doing is saying, we could do so much better together on this. And that's watching clubs work when you've got good development decoys, you've got training directors, you've got good people like who are upskilling themselves and starting to become aware of how to handle and manage dogs better. And then have them all around to say, hey, can I offer a suggestion? And or just saying, you need to do this better. And then you being in a safe enough position, comfortable enough with your ego out of the way to say, yep, I'm ready to take that on. It's been very important for me over the years, and it's even important with my wife to tell me, don't do any more of that. He's starting to show stresses right now, and you're not picking up on it because you're trying to bull through it. Terrific. I need that. You need it at any stage of your development because sometimes you just need someone to tap you on the shoulder. I heard Pat saying it about the other day where Jazz has given him a flick in the ear and saying, hey, mate, pull back. And they've argued about the concept of it, but he's come away and go, yeah, you're right. I needed to hear that. Whether I liked it or not, I just needed to hear that. We all do. There's nobody that I know who's above that. Sean's got something to say.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention Tara is also a ninja with a sleeve and in a suit. She's also a black shirt. Janet is as well. They're both super competent. And honestly, Zack and Tara can teach my whole Deadpool decoy school from beginning to end, and I don't even need to be there. Like, honestly,
that's impressive.
Out of everyone, don't get me wrong, I appreciate everyone that's been helping, and hopefully at some point I'll get to my shout outs later, but without Zack and Tara and their dogs, they've played a huge part in it, and without them, it wouldn't be as great as it is.
Thank you.
Their dog apart comes to almost every decoy school. He's been monumental in all of the decoys that have come up through the ranks at the Deadpool decoy to include me. That dog's bitten me so many times and developed me, honestly.
Yeah, cool.
The same goes for me decoying. She'll help with that. Like she'll see something. If we're troubleshooting something, she'll give an idea. And of course, me being the guy, I'm like, oh, I guess, yeah, we'll try it. And then in my head, I'm like, this is going to work. I know it's going to work. But she can see stuff too, where I get like blinded sometimes. Like with her in obedience, it's the same way.
Yeah.
She'll see something in the decoying and be like, hey, let's try this. And we do it and it works. I'm like, well, that worked. She knows what she's doing.
Yeah,
Training partners are super important, whether it's your life partner or whatever, just having somebody cast an eye over your stuff, and because you get too close to it, you get too obsessed with it, and you think, I always make fun of dog trainers because people who can solve reactivity in other people's dogs then also have this reactive dog themselves. And it's because my dog's special and unique and he's a special snowflake. And it's like, nope, you're too close to it and you're not treating that dog the way it needs to be treated because it's your special fur baby. And we're all like, even in the working dog space, we're all guilty of that. Usually in a different way where we're putting too much on the dog. You can do this. I know you can do this. And just having that person that you know is never going to intentionally bum steer you. I think you have to have someone like that. I think to be successful in dog training, you have to have a person that can tell you you're a piece of shit and you go, all right, I am. Like you have to be able to accept that from somebody, I think. Fellas, we're kind of wrapping up. Thank you very much for being here.
Yeah.
I've had a great time with you guys here in Australia. It's been fun having you here. The school was beyond my expectations. I've been to one before and was still like, wow, this is amazing. What a good time everybody's having. But Sean's got some stuff to say before we wrap up. He's got people to thank and stuff. So let's fling the mic over to him. And then I want to get you guys to tell us like how do people get in touch with you and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, just real quick with the whole Deadpool decoy school. Obviously, a lot of times we have plenty of students and I couldn't do that without all the instructors that helped me. So with being jet lagged, hopefully I didn't forget anybody and I'm just doing the upper belts here. But I just want to give a huge shout out to the people that I learned from, Jerry Bradshaw and Son Siggins. I started my career in '94 in the Air Force working with dogs, but I didn't really learn what I'm doing now until I hooked up with Shawn first and then eventually Jerry. So thank you two, if you're listening. Your expertise and your friendship and all your help over the years has been just amazing for me, and I super appreciate it. Now I'd like to go through some of the people in the Deadpool decoy school that have really helped a lot and contributed a lot of their time to it. We got Black Shirt Matt Taylor. We have Janet. I'm trying to do an order of which they were promoted. We got Rob and Alexis from Canada. Again, they travel down from Canada, help out. They're both amazing. Chris Smith, I love Chris so much, and I wish he was here. He was originally supposed to come, but he has lots of traveling, and he wants to get that 3 on go, so
he's a lovely dude.
He had to have some self-control not come, and he did, and I wish he would just said, you know what,
Screw
let's
it,
go.
I'm doing it.
Screw it,
Yeah.
I'm coming, I'm going to have a good time because, we love him. Again, we got Tara. Tara's amazing. Obviously, it's hard for those two to come at the same time because of the dogs. It is what it is. Chris Hunt. Chris Hunt works for State Line Canine. Chris is amazing. He's an amazing obedience trainer for us, and as well as he's a black shirt as well. Chris is an amazing PSA decoy as well. I guarantee he'll probably be a national select at some point.
He's one of my favorites.
We got Pat Stewart.
Hello.
Thank you so much for joining the cult, right? And having
There's one thing I love, it's being in a cult.
I'm serious about the school, but as you can see, I make a lot of jokes. I try to make people feel comfortable, and most of all, have a good time. Have a good time with their dogs, right? I gotta throw Cam in there as well. Cam's a brown belt. He's gonna be a black belt. We say black belt, black shirt, whatever. They're wearing shirts.
Yeah.
There was belts on their sleeves at one point, and that just wasn't working well. So we went with shirts only. And then Cam Boyd. Cam is just all around amazing. He was a D1 football player, and he's very good jiu-jitsu. So I find people that wrestle, do jiu-jitsu, people that work on techniques typically transition over to these type of sports extremely well. And that is Cam all the way. Cam is an amazing PSA trial decoy. 1,000% is going to be a national select decoy.
Yep.
I would put $1 million on it right now. And Cam he's very quiet. He's similar to Zack in some ways, but excellent obedience trainer and an amazing training decoy as well. If there's anybody I forgot, I apologize, but I appreciate everything all of you have done for me in joining my cult.
It has been fun, mate, to be honest, like watching from the outside, because you were meant to do one here in 2020, I think it was, and that was when that was sort of getting going. Watching from the outside and watching it sort of grow and become what it is has been really cool. And I think you've done an amazing job of it. And I'm super grateful in that when I realized, okay, I've got to start. Yeah, training decoys was not something I thought I'd ever plan to do. It's something I do because you need to do it. But then when I was like, all right, I need to train people here. When you put on that school, when I was doing the seminar at your place, you put on that school beforehand just for me to see your process so I could steal it and bring it back and grow the cult here was incredible. The guys were telling me yesterday afternoon after the end of it were like, oh, we've been doing this. Like we've been prepping it and now we've gone back to the source and seen it. And of course, there's things that I was doing slightly differently or just, minor changes, but it has meant that you were able to indirectly influence what's happening here, that's what cults do. So it's been awesome.
I just want to say something, Shawn, and I know I said it at the trial that we just recently had, but I just want to really personally thank you from the bottom of my heart, and not just for me, for such a broad range of people. Like PSA probably wouldn't have survived or wouldn't be what it was without your strong influence in it, especially you and Janet. Pat's done an incredible amount of work keeping legs underneath it. But what you and Janet did and just the inclusion that you gave everybody in Australia has been significant. I wouldn't have been a judge without you. Like you were the one that gave me the nod. You were the one that put me forward. You were the one that, even when I was doubting whether I wanted to continue doing it, you were the one that kept me in the game. Mate, a sincere and a very loving amount of thanks for you, mate. You've become a really special friend, not just to me, but to so many people in Australia. You're a really humble person. You take so many people under your wing, you and Janet. I always feel that I could get on the phone to you or I could send you a message and I could get an instant answer from you from anything that I needed to know. So, mate, thank you so much.
I appreciate it. I don't consider myself great in any way. Is a common thing I say in jiu-jitsu. I feel I'm mediocre, and every once in a while I have a really good day.
We appreciate it.
Well, I think greatness is not something that you apply to yourself, but it's generally something that the people around you, it's like an award that's given to you. So calling yourself great is one thing, but being called great by the people around you is a significant other thing. And I believe you have done so many great things. Like I love watching you decoy. You're an exceptional decoy. What you teach other people to do. See, it's one thing to be an amazing decoy. It's another thing to show people how to do that as well. That takes a real talent. Mate, I love seeing you do it. I love what you bring to it. I love the comedy you bring to it. I love the inclusion that you bring to it. You make so many people feel special around you, and that is a really great talent. So that's really some of the greatness that you bring to the table, and I can't thank you enough, mate. You're an amazing person. I want to say this to your face now, and I want to say it publicly because I've said things about people at their funerals before, and it breaks my heart. I never got to say it to them in front of their face. You know, I just want you to know there's a lot of love for you in the room. You're a terrific guy.
I'm going to round out this circle jerk before it gets too awkward. Fellas, how do people get in touch with you if they're interested? Shawn, tell us about how people can organise schools. Give us the rundown.
You can hit me up through social media. I think most people can find me pretty easily.
Yep. Travis?
You can check us out on Facebook or IG at AmericanCanineDynamics.com. Real quick, I just also want to publicly thank Shawn for everything he's done for me, opening so many doors and taking me under his wing. You guys for hosting us and all of your hospitality and warm welcome. Really appreciate that. And finally, my co-trainer, David Gum, who's been monumental in our company.
Cool, man. You're very welcome.
You can find me on Instagram, Burkeza, Burkeza, and business is Rich Second in Somerville on Facebook and Instagram. If you need anything for like decoy work, just reach out to me personally. We can set that up. And I too would like to thank both of you for having us. Felt very welcome here. And I would like to thank Shawn as well. What you said, Glenn, was perfect to exactly how I feel about Shawn.
Well, it's the same thing with you guys. Like you came over here and you make effort to fit in with people. Like I can see an enormous amount of appreciation for your talent, your skills coming over here, the way you conduct yourself, the way you fit in. Like you just instantly came in and befriended people in the room. You weren't standoffish. You weren't elitist. People who are learning appreciate that very much because they feel like they can connect to you easy. And that's one thing that I love when I'm working with anybody and I'm learning a skill off them is I want to connect with that person.
Yeah,
I want to be able to sit with them and talk to them and, you know, like share intimacies about how I'm feeling at any one time. Especially with decoying, when you're learning to do this thing, you can feel very insecure. It's a very skilled and detailed process, which there's a lot of big feels that surface during that time. And if you get critiqued harshly or you feel that the person that is teaching you doesn't like you or doesn't appreciate you, it can crush you. It's like teaching a young dog, really, isn't it? There's plenty of times where we've all talked about this at some stage of a conversation that we've had where, you know, like somebody's come in and there's a dog that's got enormous amounts of potential and talent, but that one person who connected with it didn't show that dog a direct pathway and it just crushed the dog very early on. And all of that skill and all of that potential just fizzled away, because they were just too young in their journey to understand it. I've heard Bart talk about it before when he's talked about incredibly skilled and powerful puppies that have just gone nowhere because they've just met the wrong person along their journey.
I've seen it.
That's something that I appreciate about how you guys came in and what you brought to the room, the warmth, the laughter, the fun, the camaraderie. It's exceptional. Thank you very much, guys. I really appreciate it.
Appreciate that.
That's it for another episode of the Canine Paradigm. As always, if you like what you hear, like, rate, share, subscribe. Do that through whatever subscription service you download us from, and then just go and fucking do it somewhere else. No one checks. You're allowed to do it as many places as you like.
Just keep doing it.
Yeah. If you want to support the show, the best way to do that is to put your AirPod into somebody else's ear while it's playing. Just be like, hey, have you heard this show? Spread the word. Or another way is to jump into Patreon. A couple bucks a month gets you access to a giant backlog of episodes as well as new stuff going forward. Or you could pay more. You could see the live streams. I can answer your questions. And you're always allowed to just buy us a Lamborghini if you want to.
A Lambo. I still want a Bentley.
A Bentley, whatever.
Yeah, I'll go Bentley.
If you want to, you can do that.
Yeah.
You never know. You never know who's listening.
Yeah.
If you want to get in touch with us, the other way to support us is buy some fucking merch.
Yeah.
Get some T-shirts.
I've seen some at
yeah, we saw them out there.
Saw them out there. The
Cool Story Show Me Your Dog is
Yep.
still the favorite one.
Yep.
That's the best. So you can get that. That's on Spring. There's links in the show notes to that. If you want to get in touch with us, best way to do that is to jump into the Facebook discussion group. There's 10,000 odd people in there. It's one of the few dog training groups in the world that isn't a fucking cesspool. So get into there and do your best.
Nice.
And if you want to get in touch with us directly, you can shoot us an email. We are info@thecanineparadigm.com. I love you. Goodbye.